Hey, Trell here, welcome. So in this video, we're going to talk about your alignment and why it's as important as it is. Now, your alignment isn't always going to be perfect because in our daily lives, we're kind of doing things on a whim, or we may find that we're sitting comfortably in a position that's not considered optimal. Right? So what I'm going to do though for the purpose of this program is talk to you about the ideal alignment and the reason why it is as important as it is while you are exercising. So typically during pregnancy, I've got my pelvis here, so typically during pregnancy, our pelvis rolls under. So we kind of stand like this with our pelvis kind of thrusted forward, and if you see what's happening here, everything's kind of falling down, and my bum is actually really tight right now. So what happens here is that our diaphragm sits in our rib cage and our pelvic floor are now needing to work that much harder to not only breathe, but to move and to manage the intra-abdominal pressure that is within our core, right? And it also leads to things, like back and hip discomforts, neck pain. Some women mention that they have some sciatic pain, and usually that's just all related to alignment. But typically in pregnancy, as our structure changes, our alignment, if we're not watching it, will change as well. So ideally, your pelvis is kind of tilted forward. It tends to roll under a little bit, right? So it's putting some pressure onto those muscles that surround the hips. So I'm going to put this down here. What we want to do ideally is our bums are out. So it's kind of like we're pushing our bum up against the wall. Well, not obviously, but slightly. So we want to have a natural curve in our back. Our shoulders down, and again, our shoulders are back as well. So we're not standing with our shoulders rolled forward and our back hunched. We're standing nice and neutral. Now keep in mind, neutral is a relative term. So this is why we kind of stay away from the optimal alignment, because you may find, or you may have scoliosis, and you may have a natural curve in your back. So to say optimal, that may not be where you are. So your optimal or neutral is going to be relative to you, but ideally nice and back. Slight bend in the knees. If your knees are kind of hyperextended, then I find that also causes, or gives you a little bit of discomfort and throws you out of alignment as well. So alignments to stay, mindful of. Again, I mentioned that pelvic thrust, or the anterior pelvic tilt, where everything kind of just falls. And you'll even notice that your lower back begins to ache a little bit. And then there's also what's known as a sway back. So your ribs are far behind your hips, right? So if I raise my arms, you can see that my rib cage is seated far behind my hips. So again, when you're standing, in neutral, your ribs are stacked directly up over your hips. So there you go, a little lesson in alignment. So go out and practice, and keep that in the back of your mind when you're washing dishes or you're in the shower. How are you standing? How does that feel? How does it feel when you stand in neutral? Does it feel better? Does it not? And let me know. Talk to you later.